Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Zoom into Wine. It's time for the show and your host, Ian Blackburn.
So it's with great privilege I get to introduce you to Olivier Humbrecht, Master of Wine from Alsace, France. Good morning here, good evening to you, sir.
Good morning to you.
And we're now going to talk about the 2016 Zind, which will be used on Saturday night. And it's featured on our website, the 2016 Zind. All right, so let's talk about this 2016 Zind-Humbrecht Z016. Now, if those of you at home can notice, that is not a 2 on the date, it is a Z. And that's because this is a fairly non-traditional blend, right? That's not part of the appellation origin control.
Yes, it's a vin de France, or what we used to call vin de table in the past in France, and it comes from one of our very good vineyards called Province-Bulle in Hunavier, where we, produce Riesling, Pinot Gris, and Gewurz. And when we purchased this clos back in 1987, some of the vines planted there, we had to pull them out because they didn't correspond to our requirements of quality clones and rootstocks and things like that. So the part nearest to the forest, we didn't really know what to plant with. And our idea was to make a classic Pinot d'Alsace blend, mixing Auxerrois and Pinot Blanc. And when we were in the vineyard, my father had a very good friend of his who came from Burgundy, and they were talking about vineyard and dirt and soil and all that. Like two growers would share things like that. And looking at this old limestone called Muschelkalk, very, very yellow, breaks into very flat stones, easy to make walls with. He said, in my village in Burgundy, I would plant Chardonnay in a soil like that. So my father looked at me and said, that's a damn good idea. And let's replace a Pinot Blanc, which is complicated to get good quality material, with Chardonnay, where we have more access to better kind of clones. So we planted 1.3 hectare of Chardonnay and 0.7 hectare of Auxerrois, started to make the blend and all that, not thinking, were we allowed to do it or not. And a few years later, customs came to us and said, you're not allowed to do this, Mr. Humbrecht. So you pull out the vine, you make sparkling wine, because that we're allowed to do it, or you declassify the wine to vin de table, which we did. And the first vintage that we officially released as Zind was the 2001 vintage. And we have been carrying on to do it like that since then. So it's 2/3 Chardonnay, 1/3 Auxerrois, made the Alsace way, not like in Burgundy. We don't use small barrels. We use, like the other wines, larger casks. It's a vineyard that gives a very elegant, racy, high acid, quite almost strict, austere type when it's young. And you give him a few years of age, like the 16 should really now start to open up. You get that combination of white fruit, minerals coming out. Very elegant palate, never very high alcohol, dry and great acidity. Yeah, it's a very nice wine. Yeah.
It is showing so amazingly well. It's got this beautiful minerality on the top, and you said that's limestone, not granite.
No, it's limestone. Limestone, there is a lot of different types, depending its age and moment of formation, far or deep in the sea or close to the sea, to the continent. And this one goes back about 200 million years old. It's a muschelkalk. It's a dolomitic type of limestone, so full of seashells and all that. It really is very, very close to the Bajocien that you find a lot in Burgundy, for example, and it's part of the Trias period. So very poor, very rocky, not very rich. But the vineyard, the Vindsbury is quite higher up in altitude, very close to the forest. And hence the delicacy of the wine. It's not the kind of wine that will ever have, a lot of sugar or too much alcohol or something like that. Yeah.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful wine, and I've seen this in many different incarnations, and it's very consistent and ages like like a giant. It's just nice, slow evolution. When what do you think the time horizon is for this 2016? Is this a 10-year wine, a 20-year wine? What do you think?
Well, I would say, it's I I can only go back to how since we started to produce it to 2001, and any vintages we've made is still showing very, very well today.
Yeah.
But I don't want to frighten people, But I would say that a really, really nice optimum would be, between 5 and 10, 6 and 12 years, something like that. So the 2016, now being 5 year old, is really entering that phase where it's enjoyment time at the moment, And I would keep it safely another 5 or 6 years. But if you want to have fun and lose a bottle into your cellar and find it in 10 or 15 years time, I don't think it would be a major problem,
It's
if,
so
if
great.
you don't mind, I'll show you the vineyard if you allow me to share again,
Sure, go ahead.
because it's really a beautiful place. That's the Clovinsville. That's the famous church of Unavir. And the whole clos is this little hillside there. And the Chardonnay is the one closest to the forest on the left side of the vineyard.
Great. Well, a great find. Um, I wanted to thank you for explaining it to us, and I can't recommend the wines of Alsace enough for your cellar, for the value proposition, for the great cuisine. They're year round, and there's multiple different styles and varieties that just kind of accent things a little bit differently. But this Zind wine is a treasure, and we love it. So thank you very much for telling us all about it.
You're welcome.